Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you are. Hello, thank you for watching my videos. It's Mike Radman, November 1st, 2009. Don't panic, folks. A number of stories that I've linked here with regards to the swine flu. Afghanistan orders closure of schools over swine flu. Effectively, Afghanistan is shutting down all of their schools to stop the spread of swine flu. BBC is reporting hospitals feel swine flu strain. Basically, the hospitals are getting swamped with people turning up with flu-like symptoms. Swine flu fear grips Ukraine. This, of course, was the story I mentioned earlier with regards to Ukraine. Now, a couple of other news items that have popped up in a similar vein, actually, from India and other parts of the world. One in particular, panic grips a school in South India. What's going on? Okay. Now, a lot of people have been sending me panicky videos about swine flu in Ukraine and the fact that they don't know what the virus is and it may actually be something else, pneumonic plague or something. Okay, a little bit of a history lesson for you all, folks, how swine flu actually works. The 1918 swine flu, if you look it up on Wikipedia, effectively starts out as a normal flu. You get normal flu-like conditions. However, in healthy people, what happens is the virus starts attacking the immune system. The immune system goes into overdrive to protect itself, creating what's called a cytokine storm. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Where effectively your immune system starts attacking your body, generally resulting in things like bronchitis, pneumonia, and so forth. So, what begins as a normal flu turns into an attack on your respiratory system, and the attack is actually your body and no longer the virus. Normally this impacts healthy people more than unhealthy people. So that basically children will get this if they have a strong immune system, and they need to be monitored very carefully to make sure that nothing is going on. Same thing happens with healthy adults, which is why most of the deaths are occurring nowadays with small children and healthy adults for some unexplained reason. Well, the unexplained reason is this is what your body does when it gets hit by swine flu. So the reason the Ukrainians were not... Now, please remember, Ukraine used to be part of the Soviet Republic. So, people there are historically less than, forthcoming with figures of authority. They tend not to trust them. So, what will happen is, for instance, when they get a flu, they'll go to the pharmacy, they'll get some flu medications, and so forth, and they'll just stay at home. After 5 to 7 days, then they're actually turning up at the hospitals saying, oh, I'm really, really ill now. But it's too late. Effectively, that's what's going on. The other thing, of course, you must remember about Ukraine is they don't have an awful lot of money. They've been hit by this economic collapse quite hard and are currently receiving assistance from the International Monetary Fund. So they don't have money for all the services and antivirals and so forth. So people get really sick, which is why we're seeing a sudden spike of cases. I think the last number I saw was 40,000 swine flu cases in Ukraine. The other thing was they don't have a lab there for actually testing for the virus. They have to send it off. And of course it takes a day for the test to come back. So the reason that the flu was of an unknown variety was they weren't guessing. They were waiting for the results. They have since received the results back. It is indeed the H1N1 swine flu that has struck Ukraine. It is not some weird and new pneumonic plague. Now, why am I mentioning all of this weekend? People at the end of my video, I said we know what's coming. Well, some people asked, no, we don't. Tell us what's coming. All right, I'll tell you. Okay, another little history lesson for you then. The Great Depression. Classically, people believe that this was triggered by Black Monday, October 29th, 1929, when the stock market, Dow-jones, etc., collapsed. Although, actually, it was the rest of the week that carried on. Monday was the start of it, Tuesday was the really bad day. Look what tomorrow is, Monday, November 2nd, 2009. Very nearly 80 years to the day. What really triggered the start of the collapse of the Dow Jones? Well, if you look at the charts, and I've linked some here, the weeks before, the Dow Jones was up and down quite a bit. There was a lot of confusion as to whether things were improving or not improving. There had been a market collapse in March, but the market had risen quite strongly since then. There was a lot of bull markets, a lot of people were buying. Now, what happened around October time was there was a general lack of confidence in things. People started worrying about things. And over the weekend before the 29th of October, there was some mild panics going on around the country. And then Monday they started selling like crazy. At some point, things like RCA, you couldn't sell it. It went from, some ridiculous number like from $30 down to $3, and nobody wanted to buy it at $3. We're going to see something similar this week. What will be the trigger? Well, of course, I'll tell you that in a second. Of course, the other thing, of course, was the week leading up to Black Monday. The papers came out with big stories. Crash averted. Millions of stocks sold. The headlines all over the New York Times, all over the major newspapers across America. What do we have today? We had Timothy Geithner dumping out, telling us all this nonsense about the economy is fantastic. It's growing. Jobs lag, but they'll catch up. It's fine. Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen the similar headlines throughout various newspapers that everything is great. So what's the trigger? It's going to be a panic. What's the panic about? Well, part of it's going to be swine flu. People are going to be saying, thinking about, okay, well, if businesses have to close, if lots of people get sick, then business output will decline, and it might be a good idea for the stock price to drop a bit because businesses won't be as productive. Nonsense like that. Never mind the fact that nobody has any money and nobody's buying anything. We'll talk about that in a second. FT, Financial Times, on Friday, was talking about CIT. Now, I mentioned this back in July. CIT is a lender to major businesses, small businesses, all over the place. They lend in a variety of different ways. Some of it is through straight lending, some of it is through refactoring, and there's all kinds of other ways they do things. Now, I've included a link to FT. CIT are the world's least unexpected bankruptcy filing. Basically, we expect CIT to file for bankruptcy either later today or tomorrow sometime. Now, before you start getting all worried about that, if you look into what they've done, CIT is sort of a holding company, and a lot of their subsidiaries have been split off. So their bank holding company, CIT Bank in Utah, is now a separate company and won't be part of the bankruptcy package. What will be part of the bankruptcy package, however, is the money that the government has pumped into it. $2.3 billion was pumped in back in December, I believe, before CIT started having problems. Well, that money is going to disappear. The rest of the company, however, should be okay, but this will still start freaking people out when they begin to realize how big this company is. It will be the fourth or fifth largest bankruptcy in U.S. history. This is going to send the markets kind of crazy. You better believe it. So I've linked a few articles about the CIT collapse. Now, why am I bringing all this up? Okay, if you look back at the history of 1929, so leading up to the crash, confidence was good, confidence was great, confidence was pumped up. Following the crash, actually, confidence was okay in most of the economy because roughly 99.5% of Americans did not own stock. Stock was owned by a very small percentage of Americans, and they basically, some of them got wiped out, admittedly, but they carried on. It's what happened to the economy and all the small businesses around. So, why am I mentioning this? The grim reality is that America is not out of recession. Now, the Americans came out, the American government came out and said that gross domestic product had improved 3.5% in the third quarter, of 2009. Of course, that was the annualized rate. In reality, it increased 0.9%, looking at the quarter, and indeed, a large part of that was money from the Cash for Clunkers stimulus program and the tax credits for housing. When people figure this out over the weekend, and they read articles like the one I've linked here, they will begin to understand that it's all completely fiction. And we're not done yet. So get ready. That's what's going to happen. Peace, love, understanding, think about things. I'll speak to you again soon.